Good evening, Oriole Nation. Welcome. Hey, everybody.
All right.
Good. Yeah, thanks.
All good.
You're gonna be, so, okay.
Yeah, all good.
All right, we are back from closed session. Our next item is board mission statements and agreements.
Cool. I'm up, right? Thanks, man. I'm sleeping here.
No, you're good.
Our board mission is we will develop policy that representative of our community, set goals and lead our district by collaborating. And the beliefs are three: stand up and own it, courage to grow, and we are one. And simply the idea of standing up and owning is like, how do we have the individual mindset to do the best and be the best we can for ourselves, but also help other people along the way, which then bleeds into we are one. And this concept of we need each other to really make this all work. And then finally, how do we continue to just embrace learning and understand that every day is a new day, and willingness to embrace the discomfort and really learn from what we're doing and get stronger together.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is consent agenda. We only have two items on the consent agenda. The first one is our minutes from the August 25th, 2025 regular board meeting. And then second item is the treasurer's report. Both of those found in our board packet. So look for a motion to approve consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Rick, when you're ready.
All right, Hunter.
Yes.
Huck.
Yes.
Geckerman.
Yes.
Gellings.
Yes.
Mathey, yes.
Okay. Next item is board members share a moment of pride. So we just get to share any cool opportunities you got to see over the last month since the meeting. If anyone.
Yeah, I can start.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to meet with Dwayne at high school last week. I think he's doing an awesome job, so just a shout out to him and his team over there for really kind of turning things around with the staff and with students. And my space has really been at the elementary level with my kids, so getting to see the high school and walk around and meet some of the teachers and just talk with him about things that are going on, challenges, concerns, and great things that are happening that school was really fun and really a cool opportunity for me. So kudos to him for all he's got going on.
Awesome.
Well, as long as you mentioned Dwayne, this goes back to August, but I did hear secondhand at the Oriole Open, somebody who said they talked to one of our staff members who said Dwayne was the best principal they had ever worked for by far, and had been at a couple different districts. So that follows up your
It's
thoughts.
pretty clear when you walk around the building with them and just like the rapport he has with the students and with the teachers, it's cool to see. So.
Yep. And that was a veteran teacher, so that's good to hear. I had pretty much a quiet month. I've been through the 3 home football games, and I checked out volleyball last week. I enjoyed seeing the kids and the spirit they have. A lot of times we don't have a lot of success, but when things happen that excite them, they get really excited, and that's good to see. They're not just moping around or giving up and quitting. So that's it.
Yeah, well, I was able to take in a 7th and then the 8th grade football game last week at Campbellsport. Not a lot of success, but we did score 2 touchdowns in the 8th grade game, and that was good. And then I also attended an open mat in the wrestling room last night, and I'm feeling it today. So, but it was good. There's maybe a dozen students up. Of course, kind of self monitoring themselves or whatever because they're not getting instruction. But some of the veterans were helping others, and it was good to see. Awesome.
Yeah, I've been able to go to the 7th and 8th grade games, football games as well. And they're, like Jacob said, the results aren't necessarily there, but the attitude is there, and those kids are really trying. Spent a lot of time with the cross-country team. And as usual, Coach Drews has a great morale built up on that team. The boys and the girls, they support each other. It's amazing. And this last weekend, they ran at the Hilltopper Invitational, which is out at St. Lawrence Seminary. Probably the toughest course they run, because like out of the 3 miles, the last 3/4 of a mile, there's a huge hill that they have to go up, and it just kills them. And so the cool part about it for me was they had the high school races or meets, and then they had a fun run after that. So anybody who wanted to run the varsity 3-mile course could run it. I don't know why you would call that fun.
Gabe, what do you think?
Yeah, I know.
I got a
For
7th
some.
grade grandson who's a football and hockey player, and not by any stretch is he a runner, but he decided he would try to run it. He got halfway up that hill, and Coach Drews and 3 of the varsity members met him, ran him all the way to the finish line, which is just kind of attitude that she builds. It was pretty cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, so one thing that I had down was just the Optimist Club. I think it was this week they did the punt, pass, and kick competition, and just how involved they are and supportive of the school district, I think is cool to see. And then I get an opportunity, I know you get to walk with Dwayne, I get to walk with Jillian on Friday. So I'm super excited and just appreciative of her opening the doors to allow me to come in, so.
Me tomorrow.
Awesome. All right, next item is Horseman High School Student Council. The floor is yours.
Lady,
Yeah.
you want to introduce yourself for everybody? And I know we did this a little bit last year, but just share a little bit about yourself and then get into your work in student council.
So I'm a senior at Horizon High School. I'm student council president. I'm also secretary for our class. I'm in Key Club, NHS, and SCRE.
Nice.
Busy.
Okay, so for student council, for homecoming, it will be held on Friday, October 11th, with the theme of Set the Sky on Fire. The dress-up days for the week will be Movie Monday, Toga Tuesday, Class Colors on Wednesday, and Summer Day on Thursday, and Oriole Pride on Friday. Student council is also working on creating shirts for members to wear during meeting days. The homecoming parade is scheduled for Thursday, October 10th at 5 p.m. and student council will be participating. In addition, student council will take part in trunk or treat on Sunday, October 20th. Key Club's first meeting will be on the 25th of the month. NHS held its kickoff meeting on September 17th. During the meeting, officers were introduced and members reviewed their responsibilities and expectations for the school year. In addition, seniors are mentoring juniors as they begin the first friendship learning reading project. SRE, the first kickoff meeting for SRE Club was held on Friday the 5th. The club has a field trip scheduled for October 15th in recognition of Hispanic Heritage Month, which will include a visit to UW Milwaukee. On October 8th, SRE will hold a fundraiser by selling walking tacos. Members will also participate in the homecoming parade, and for trunk or treat, the club will be represented by 2 groups. In addition, many students have joined SRE and are mentoring students at both FLC and ELC. Student accomplishments. Last Saturday, our cross-country team competed in the St. Lawrence Hilltopper Invitational against some very tough competition and came home with excellent results. The boys varsity team placed 4th overall, with standout performances from Logan Putty, who finished in 7th place, and Kason Skropnagel, who secured 10th place. Both earned top 10 medals, an outstanding accomplishment on such a challenging course. Abby Winger also earned a medal with her strong 14th place finish. In junior varsity action, Landon Kemmick made his cross-country debut and placed 15th, an impressive first showing. And that is it. Any questions for me?
Busy.
Can you tell me what Adam Sandler Day is? That's what I want to know.
Like, we just dressed up as Adam Sandler. I think it's a concept from a movie. I don't really know him as much, but that's what the students picked as a theme. There's many outfits from him that students will be choosing. So it's just like, I think it's like a flannel and an oversized like t-shirt. So
I think it's a popular day. I think I'm hearing
Yeah.
that more and more throughout the state in terms of people choosing that for
think that's our October board dress code.
Oh, okay, there you go. Go Happy Gilmore, Billy Madison. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
and
thank
welcome.
you. All right, awesome. Next item is our clerk's report. So Rick, when you have a moment.
So for Backpack Buddies, Wayne and Janice Shane give you $50, like they always are generous. And then Forest Man High School received $8,000 from adoptaclassroom.org. I'm not sure what that is, but that's a huge amount.
Yeah, I can tell you a little more. Basically, nonprofit. They're looking. It's basically a company building classrooms throughout the country, and they have to give money back to nonprofits, and so they get to choose every so often to donate to certain schools, and they happen to think about North Fond du Lac and get $8,000, which is super nice from those folks within Adopted Classroom. So I think Dwayne called me and goes, "There's people want to give us money," and I'm like, "Okay, great. How much?" He's like, $8,000. Okay, that's perfect. Good. But yes, we're grateful that people are looking and checking out for us. So
Very cool. All right. Next item on the agenda is citizens' comments. This is an opportunity for citizens to provide any comments to the board. So I'll pause to see if anyone has any comments. All right. None here today, so we will move on. Next item is superintendent's report.
thanks, John. We are really privileged to have a group from FLC here today, Friendship Learning Center, to talk about a little bit about what's going on in the learning academics area. That last year and the years prior, we were trying to figure out how can we get under the hood of some of the data that we've been talking about in here that our principals kept forward. So this is an opportunity for us to showcase, but also learn a little bit more about what's happening in your world. So I'm going to turn it over to Lauren. I'm going to get your Canva up here, and we'll go from there.
Thank you.
Yeah. I always got to remember which one.
They present.
Maybe that. No.
Yeah, scroll up to the right. Present. It's the far. No, keep going down under copy link.
Okay. Right here. Got it. Thank you. Okay.
And then full screen.
There we go. And yeah.
Perfect. All right. Well, thanks for having us. It's kind of crazy as I was putting this together, thinking about all of the work that we have done just leading up to today. So it's been 17 days, which is crazy because it feels like we've lived a whole school year life between the first day of school and where we are now. I wanted to just kind of give a little bit of the background and just tell the story, I guess, of the last 17 days so you guys understand just kind of, again, where we started and where we are now on day 18 tomorrow. So starting all the way back to when we were really thinking about creating a testing schedule for our students. Obviously, a big piece of that testing schedule is the state mandates within Act 20. When I came this summer to talk to you all about our kindergarten soft start, we were definitely thinking about our youngest population and what that looks like for those little kids to have to do some of those assessments so early on in the school year. So with that soft start, we had small groups of kindergarten kids come the first 3 days of school. It went wonderfully. Those teachers were able to get to know those kids as obviously individuals, but also accomplish some of that testing that needed to get done in a much more manageable way. So just the start of creating the assessment schedule was a huge undertaking, and I know Kara, with input from others as well, developed a really, I think, just cognizant schedule in terms of what's best for students and what's best for teachers. So after we got done with all the testing, then we launched into iReady. And did you have a chance to share with them a little bit?
A little pre, but
Okay.
we will do that after
Okay.
this. So
Okay,
just
so
give them-
I will, try not to go too much in the weeds on that. But our first PD day, we had a presenter from iReady come and basically walk us through, now that you have all of this data on your students, what are you going to do with it? How do you interpret it? How do you really analyze and read the reports so that we can move our instruction forward? All of this obviously tying to the KPI of learning and academics. We want our students to achieve, obviously, reading, math, science, social studies, but we're really focused this year on literacy. So that'll be like a bulk of what we talk about here today. Next slide, please. So similar to last year, we talked a little bit about those personalized reading plans. That is a part of Act 20. And we used NextPath, which we also talked a little bit about last year. We used NextPath to create those personalized reading plans. So we took our data from Ames Web, which that's that statewide screener, iReady, which is our new diagnostic tool, and then teacher observations, and created 132 personalized reading plans. We do have to just, I guess, say that that number is a lot lower than last year, and a big reason is because they adjusted the norms. So where it would be really awesome to say, like, we cut that number in half, the norms are really what play into that. So we definitely have less plans this year because some of those norms have shifted, but are feeling really good about the plans that we put into place now and moving forward. So after those plans were created, our teachers are now going to basically carry out those plans and what that instruction looks like during win time, which is what I need time. Erin and Pam will talk about that specifically in a little bit, and they'll share kind of the ins and outs of what that looks like, but there's just some really great, exciting work happening within that space.
I just wanted to add too that we created personal reading plans for the students in K3, but any students that were on that bubble, so we know that the norms had lowered the number. Any student who maybe didn't necessarily need a personal reading plan, but we wanted to keep track of, also got a reading plan. And our 4th and 5th grade students have reading plans, not personal reading plans. So all students in the school who are in a tier 2 intervention have a reading plan, not necessarily just the PRPs.
I think what's so exciting this year, because a lot of this is the same work that we were doing last year, but it's also so different. What makes that different, a big piece of that is iReady, which you'll see here in a little bit. Last year, we did not have a diagnostic tool or an assessment tool that really pinpointed what we needed to do as educators and where we needed to look in terms of like that starting point and closing gaps. So that's a huge difference this year compared to last year. I would say having Kara's guidance, Jen Towell's guidance, true literacy experts like in the room when we're talking about what we need to do for kids, that's also been a huge, I guess, shift from last year. So it's a lot of the same work as last year, but it's just a lot better. Next slide. So that kind of leads us to what we are establishing for our SLO this year for Friendship Learning Center. So there's going to be 2 different graphs that you'll see here. I will be completely vulnerable and just own that like iReady is new for all of us, building principles included. So really wanting to make sure that we have a solid understanding of what these numbers mean. So we have just done a lot of digging. We've had a lot of conversations. We've consulted with some outside people as well to just make sure that we're looking at the right thing. So the graph that you'll see here is what's considered like the standard view for iReady. This view shows students' progress towards grade level standards over the entire school year. And this is relative to like the full year's curriculum. So it's a snapshot of where kids are at right now. And in the fall, I would say it's normal to see, you know, many students in the yellow because they haven't necessarily learned this year's material yet. So these numbers will obviously grow and change as we move throughout the year, winter to spring. So the numbers over in that fall column, this is the percent of students who are already proficient or like at grade level. So for example, kindergarten, 11%. 11% of our kindergarten students are already showing like proficiency or mastery with kindergarten grade level standards. So that's what those percentage points on this graph indicate. The yellow is 1 grade level below, and then the red would indicate 2 or more. We wanted to really get laser-like and specific with what we were identifying.
What's really neat about iReady is it not only will provide all of us with a typical growth goal, but it will also give us something called a stretch goal. And I'm just gonna pass this out to each of you so you can see an example of what our parents will see and what our teachers see in terms of that student's data. So you'll see on this like snapshot or this diagnostic result that students are given both a regular goal or a typical growth goal and then a stretch goal. So when we look at the different breakdowns of data within iReady will give us what they're saying is a typical growth goal, and then they'll give us a stretch goal for grades 3, 4, 5. So that's that chart on the upper kind of left-hand corner. That's important because we wanted to make sure that we weren't just pulling a number out of anywhere when we talked about like what were we going to set as that percentage for our students. So for example, 48% would be that typical growth goal and 60% would be the stretch. Am I saying that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then what we did from there, Kara and I really looked at the different domains, so the different areas. So for example, you can see here on this child's report, this is a third grader, and there's multiple different areas that they were assessed on. So phonological awareness, phonics, vocabulary, etc. We looked at our numbers in K2 and noticed that phonics was one of the lower areas for our kindergarten through second grade students. So that's the area that we really want to pinpoint this year with our students in grades K through 2. In grades 3, 4, and 5, one of the lower domains was comprehension with informational text. So that's kind of our focus area for grades 3, 4, and 5 as we look forward to the next school year. Anything you want to jump in on that one? Just that parents had the Ames Web data sent home. This is going to be shared at conferences because we know iReady is a new tool and we want to be able to explain it to parents and have that in front of them instead of just sending it home. So conferences, when they come up, there'll be themes of this at conferences.
And you might be thinking, why 60% with K1-2 and why 55% in 3, 4, 5? We really wanted to, there's a sense of urgency with K1-2 in terms of phonics. We really need to have that solidified before we move on to the comprehension pieces. In grades 3, 4, and 5, it's a little bit harder to say that we can solely focus on comprehension because we're still closing some of those gaps within phonics. So that's why we put that percentile just a little bit lower for students in 3, 4, 5, but also trying to remain within what is considered typical growth and then that stretch growth. Like we want more than typical, which is why we shot a little bit higher in both areas.
And that typical growth is 100% from wherever students test in the fall. And it'll keep going back to that typical growth. So mid-year when they're tested, it'll go back to that baseline, and then end of year, it'll go back to that baseline. So we're just looking for 100% growth in the year. We're looking for more, obviously, we want to close gaps.
Why is there like the spike in third grade on both those? Like why third grade? Because that one was 37, I think the other one was higher too. Yeah.
Yeah, we have a lot more students in the green in third grade, maybe grade 2nd grade teachers.
Well, I didn't like, what's the, yeah.
I wasn't here.
I don't have a solid answer for that. I mean, I think we are starting to see within each of our grade levels that like that area of green does grow the longer that we have them, but also not always in all cases either.
I think also too, we gotta see a couple of years of this data with an iReady, right? To say like, is that gonna see, are we gonna see the same thing next year in that same grade? Or is that the third graders going from 3rd to 4th and you see a higher bubble at 4th grade? So.
And I will say districts who've used iReady, they track those grades. So there are grades that are just generally higher too. But I mean, Erin, you taught these kids last year, like, do you have anything to?
I mean, from the beginning of the school year last year to the end, I saw significant growth in my students, and I don't know if that has to do with CKLA being new.
Sure.
I don't know what it was really, but from beginning to end of year, it was pretty tremendous growth. I guess I don't know the reason.
Well, I didn't know like if we did something fundamentally different 2 years ago when they were first graders and it's just starting to you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and that'll just keep pushing forward with that group and you'll see the rest come behind as well. I'm just.
I know,
I'm
like
just
in our,
bugged out.
the curriculum that we had before CKLA, it was lacking like in phonological awareness, like we didn't have a lot of that with Lucy, which is what we were using before,
Sure.
and CKLA is hitting that pretty hard now, so maybe
Okay.
that's.
Yeah.
More of the foundational skills. Yeah, so the percentages that you see there are different from the ones on the first slide, because those are the percentages within phonics and then within that comprehension of informational text. So that's what the SLO will be kind of centered around, is really moving those numbers forward in those areas.
Okay, next.
So universal tenants, so as a district leadership team, we felt that it was important to kind of clearly define what those instructional strategies and practices were. So when we walk into our classrooms or when we're having conversations with teachers around educator effectiveness and setting up those evaluations for the year, we wanted to make sure that we had consistent language as building principals. We wanted to make sure that we were all sort of looking for the same thing, and that also our teachers knew what some of those things were and how they kind of move throughout that rubric. So that'll be tied, I'm sure, to some, discussions that we have later on, and other principals will probably touch on this too. But as building leaders, we got together this summer, we worked on this rubric, and then we've selected for our building one focus area to really double down on. And so one of the things that we decided this year would be opportunities to respond. So how are students demonstrating what they're learning, or what is that evidence of learning? And then that also ties to engagement. And a lot of times last year, teachers would say sometimes CKLA seems so heavy in the teacher talk and we're talking at kids a lot. So we really want to make sure that we're intentional with getting our students engaged in the learning and being able to demonstrate what it is that they're learning or doing within a given class period. So
Can you give an example of like an opportunity response, just so they understand what that would look like if they came into a classroom and saw that?
yeah, so instead of Mrs. Luther asking a question and having like a couple kids raise their hand, she might say, turn and tell your neighbor. Or if all of the students have whiteboards, they might write down their answer and show it. So everyone in that moment is accountable to what it is the teacher is asking of them. This example, you'll see this a lot in both math and ELA at the elementary. Our teachers are really great about getting those little bodies up and moving and going to vertical spaces or boards and telling kids to write out their answers or write out their thinking visibly on these spaces. And then there's also, just neat collaboration that takes place when we're doing that as well.
In fourth grade, during writing, of course, anytime you ask a kid, you're gonna write a memory about something that happened to you, and they have no idea. So asking them to get up to the vertical work surface, work in groups of 3, and just like write down an idea on the board, on the glass, change, switch, and then you give them like maybe a couple minutes, then they rotate, and they can see what this group had, add their ideas down, rotate. And then all of a sudden now there's like 6 walls of different ideas for kids to capture, and that momentary panic of, I don't know what to write about, suddenly goes away. And then they can also share out. And so that's been helpful in getting kids up to move during
That's awesome.
CKLA.
With the littles, like you tell them, you're gonna write on the window or you're gonna write on the door. What? So like the ones that you don't really hear a lot of feedback from, like when your whole group, you don't hear a lot from them, all of a sudden they're told they can write on the doors and the windows, I'll take the marker, I'll write something, so, it gets everybody involved.
Nice.
This framework is directly tied to the goals that we'll be like setting with teachers when we walk through that evaluation system. And it's nice as building principals to have that common language too, and to all be working towards the same thing.
Right, and that also fluctuates, like as I've said before, it aligns back to year educator effectiveness. There's standards in there, 3 and 4, which is about instructional delivery, and then also assessment. All those tenets align directly, and even if you notice, like it's really hard to see right here, but under each of those criterions, there is like the breakdown of what standards are actually being hit or aligned to. So it flows together really well. Good to go next? All right, let's do it.
So after we've selected our SLO, we have to determine what we're going to do to support that. Like, what are we gonna put our eggs into? And these are the things that we decided would help move those markers on our SLO pieces. So for K2, within the tier 1 instruction and within tier 2 interventions, we're gonna focus on word training and blending segmenting routines. In 3-5, do you wanna know what a word training or blending
Yes.
segmenting
Yes.
is? So word training is taking a word like cat and then saying change cat to bad, or change the first part, change the C to B, what word did you make? Change the T to N, what word did you make? So they're either writing it or they're saying it depending on the focus of it. And then blending and segmenting, you'll see this even in kindergarten, starting in the next unit, they're gonna use their fingers to blend out, or to segment a word and blend it back together. So like at, cat. So they're using their fingers. Do you see how I'm mirroring it too? I've been doing it the right way. It's hard as a teacher to mirror it the right way, but so that's what Erin was saying with those phonological pieces. The hearing goes with the seeing and the speaking. So we have to make sure that kids can hear what the sounds are, and that's that phonological piece that CKLA really hits on. And if they're not, then that's what we're incorporating into our interventions to support those kids early on, so we can close those gaps right away. So then in 3-5, remember we're focusing on comprehension. So planned and purposeful interactive read alouds, and those are gonna be with explicit vocabulary instruction. So we know that our, when we have heavy informational texts, we have to show kids how they can read those texts and what they're looking for and how to decipher the root part of words and the prefixes and suffixes. So putting a little more emphasis on being planned and purposeful with our read aloud pieces in CKLA. And then having the evidence of learning throughout lessons will help us guide our tier 2 instruction too. One piece that I feel like I have been a huge driving force in is just going back to that RTI process. So iReady does a really great job of showing us our triangle and seeing what students we need to service and what students we can hit in tier 2 and tier 3. So Lauren and I are really just trying to right the ship, having the triangle the right way. And one of the ways we're doing that is through this data-driven collaborations, and that's happening in academic team meetings. It's happening in CT meetings on Wednesdays, and then in our grade level team meetings, we're meeting every other week. We're gonna be kind of looking at what can we do to support all students within the tiers. And coming back to that too. So it's not just setting up our groups, but okay, now what do we do with the progress monitoring pieces of it? What are we noticing kids are doing or not doing, and how can we change our instruction to support that? Great.
All right, let me go from here. 4th grade, we're ready to go. Just 1 second. Thinking.
Yeah, it caught something from my clever touch.
Yeah.
I'm not lying.
Okay.
All right, so winning the 4th grade team, how we're handling our win time, that's the 4th grade team there. You can just go ahead and click. Why don't you click one more time? Let's do it. Some of this is a repeat of what Lauren covered and Kara covered, but the why behind the win time is to make sure that all students can succeed and give purpose to all the data that we've collected. What is win time? It's data-driven instruction, and it's specific to students' instructional needs. So this year, 4th grade team, all the teams, we focus primarily on using the data from iReady. And then we came together as a 4th grade team, but then we also worked with the reading team, ML, and special ed to figure out how we can work together, collaborate, and share our students and our resources to work with as many students as possible. So we looked at the diagnostic results from iReady. On the left-hand side is reading. On the right-hand side, the smaller little image is from math. So first we focused on those students who performed lower in phonics, and we set up groups specifically for those students to focus on phonics. So there's 2 teachers that are using UFly to provide instruction in phonics. And then,
Can you tell us what you fly is just briefly, like what, from what you know?
Yeah,
it's
Okay, or, yeah, so that you know it's.
Yeah, it says curriculum developed by the University of Florida. It's a super, all it is a manual. All the other pieces are your own as a teacher, and it's a really vetted way for us to close gaps using phonemic awareness, phonics, those blending and segmenting routines, word chaining, those like high frequency words that kids need explicit instruction around. So it starts at, there's an assessment that they give to the students on where they should start the lessons, and then they just continue going from there and doing quick checks to check to make sure they're making growth in that too. So it's a really, really vetted phonics filler intervention, as in like a bucket. When the phonics bucket is empty, we're using that to fill,
thank you.
or at least put some dirt in it. You know?
There's a little home connection piece at the end of it too that you can send home with them to reinforce, like, what did your child learn today? Here's a short little reader that goes with the lesson that they can connect with at home too.
Thank you. So we start with the foundational piece in reading, and then moved on to those kids who are 2 or more years behind in reading comprehension. And then on the right-hand side, again, looking at that numbers and operations, base 10, kind of what the foundational skills in math, and set up groups from there. You should click on the next one.
So can I just,
Yeah.
2 seconds, like, these are, I'm just gonna check with everybody, this is 2 years behind, more than 3 years behind, okay? This is at least 2, right, 2 years? This is 1 year behind, and then,
I'm gonna clarify that green.
yes,
So
please.
they, when they take the iReady diagnostic, it starts them in vocabulary, and if their score is high enough, then that surpass level means that they were not assessed on the high frequency words. So it might be something like if you see some of those students who are testing in the red, we have other diagnostics where we can assess them. It's like a paper diagnostic, but it just says like those, we use dibbles to see what their phonics assessment is when the iReady skips in, essentially. So the surpass does not mean that it was assessed.
But you can see any student based upon the results, based on those colors too, which are coming through, so, moving
Yeah,
on.
and you can dig down a little deeper on the student level as well. So this just shows like how we collaborated all the pieces of the pie working together to create our groups. So for 4th grade, we have 2 20-minute rounds that we pull different groups. So there's the multilingual team that's working with students. Our reading specialty pulls at a different time. Another member of the reading team is working with groups, and Tammy Rademan, who's also a 4th grade teacher, she is pulling math groups. So we have a mix of reading and math in 4th grade. And I think there's one more.
Okay.
All right, so this is an example of our crazy schedule of students that are being pulled. So you can see the key up there on top, the teacher, and then the different groups. So you can see Mrs. Kreider, her focus is phonics, Mrs. Renzel, so on and so forth. Myself, comp, Morgan, Dyke, 4th grade, comp and vocab. Tammy's math, Morgan Fikely is ML. Then Margaret Logeman is the tier 3. And then Renee is part of the reading team. She's focusing on those students who are, say, 1 year behind, middle level, in the informational text and vocabulary. So that's her primary focus, because we could see when we were looking at the results from iReady that there was a significant number of students, 4th graders, that didn't perform as well in informational text. They might have been at 4th grade ready in comprehension, but they might have been 2nd grade, performing in 2nd grade in informational text. So we were looking at those students too. So there's that first block of groups, and then in the second block, teachers are pulling groups within their class. So that's going to vary. They might be focusing on fluency and comprehension, math, and then they might be taking one day to take the time to look within iReady to see which students aren't meeting their instructional, the online instructional lessons where they're like missing 2 lessons and then they're gonna get closed off from that domain. So taking that time to sit down with that student and figure out what's going on here, how can we move forward and set some goals, and what does that all look like right now? It's all new, but
So can I ask a silly question? So this is describing kind of the schedule of how you're doing this, but what is this that we're doing? Is this the testing or the instructing?
oh, sorry, the small group instruction.
Okay,
So interventions, tier 2 intervention, tier 3 intervention.
got it. So you're actually taking a small group and working with them kind of small, like.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
targeted.
Yes.
Oh, I love it.
Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I just missed it, so.
So this is outside of like your core
Yes,
instructional
it's
stuff too, so this is
Okay.
outside of.
And the reason the schedule's important is because it's like tough to fit in with the day, right? Like we have other stuff and so it gets complicated and that's what this is
Yeah.
describing.
Yes.
So I have a
Okay.
question kind of along the point that you were just making. So when they're doing this time, what are the other kids that aren't in when doing, and then are they missing out on other things? You know what I mean? Like, what's the?
Yeah. So let's.
Okay.
We're ahead of the game.
I have 2 things to say. First, one is that all of these students are being progress monitored weekly to make sure that their intervention is effective and helping them move that marker towards proficiency. So that's happening every single week, and all of that data gets pulled over into NextPath. So it's an easy one-stop shop for teachers when they go to look at their student. They can see where the trend line's moving, if it's moving towards grade level, if it's not, what do we need to do to fix this? So that's happening. And then what Pam said about the iReady paths is so important, because we are not just sticking children on a video game on the computer. This is a personalized instruction pathway where it's starting them where their diagnostics said that they're lacking, and it's trying to close that gap. We as teachers are monitoring that, and we're providing like face-to-face small group instruction to help support that too. So I just wanted to add those 2 pieces. Great.
Yeah, and then also, in addition, the 4th grade team, we did also try to look at, okay, if this kiddo is like performing at a 1st grade level in phonics and maybe comprehension's at 1 or 2, is there also an opportunity for us to, like, just say double dip, where they're getting in that first chunk, they're getting that intervention in phonics in a small group, but then that classroom teacher in that second part is able to weave them into a comprehension group too, because they have a bigger stretch growth than maybe a kid who's already at 3rd grade. So we looked at that as well.
Parents.
Okay, I just do my best here with like, okay, we
Yeah.
got this, yeah? Let's go.
Okay, so I kind of focus mine more on like what's going on inside of my classroom, and all of the other 2nd grade teachers are also following the same model, but this is just a little sneak peek. So this is one of my small groups at my tables. We are doing UFly. This is, they're working on like letter recognition, letter sounds, even handwriting. So this is just a little sneak peek of just a picture. That's all I have.
They look very engaged, so.
Yeah.
They were, yeah. And then I just kind of have a couple of interventions that I'm using in my classrooms, as well as some of the other 2nd grade teachers. We talked about UFly. I have some kiddos in my room that do not have a personal reading plan, and they tested proficient in all of the categories for phonics. But they were also testing at grade 1, so they were about a year behind. So I didn't want to just say, hey, great, you don't need UFly. We're doing guided reading groups as well, because I looked at the different strands of things that they are kind of missing, and it was a lot of nonfiction comprehension. So those are some things that we're working on in some of our guided reading groups. And then,
I'm sorry for interrupting. Can you
No.
tell us a little bit about what does a guiding reading
Sure, I'm
group
sorry,
look like?
yes. So we actually, not a couple of years ago, 5 years ago, we purchased some leveled books from Fountas and Pinnell, and inside they have beautiful books that are very appealing to the kids. They really like them. Inside of the book bag, so there's 6 books in there. Inside of the book bag is a little folder for the teacher that walks them through the whole lesson. You focus on writing, reading, comprehension, high frequency words, word work is inside of there. So really the guided reading groups still hit everything. But when I use the guided reading, I focus more with the groups that I have right now, focus more on the comprehension and the writing piece of it. So it's just, I don't know that I wanna say like a higher level, like there's just more involved with these guided reading books, just higher level thinking questions. And then I use Haggerty. Haggerty is kind of like UFly in a sense, just the blending and the segmenting again and hearing all of the sounds and being able to put all of the sounds together to make words. That only takes a couple of minutes, so I'll do that right before. With one group, I'll start with Haggerty, it'll take a couple minutes, then I'll move into UFly with that same group. So just kind of using 2 resources for instruction. And then one thing that I just kind of thought of when we had our trainer come at the beginning of the year, I was like, well, what about the kiddos that are exceeding like they're beyond proficient. They're maybe thinking at 3rd grade levels. Like, I don't want to just say, hey, I'm going to meet with all of these kids every day of the week, but I'm not going to get to see you very often. Like, they still want to see their teacher. They still want to do things, so I kind of have been thinking about an enrichment group. We have our encore teachers that have a schedule. They move around the building on their, what are they? Not an off day,
they're open.
They're open encore day. So a thought that I don't have it in the works yet, but I want them to do like higher level book clubs with those kiddos, or Scrabble or Zingo or Racco, something to like, just higher level thinking, because they deserve, something a little extra too. So Carol already said this earlier, the interventions that we are doing inside the classroom are adjusted to student need based on the progress monitoring scores that we are doing weekly and the iReady student scores. This is just a picture of my schedule that I have in my classroom. So I have my 2 UFly groups. Those are my kiddos that I hit hard a little more frequently than others, because those are the ones that have a larger gap to try to close up. Some of the kiddos in there are also in Tier 3 instruction with Mrs. Logaman. So I have it timed out on my schedule. So when they come back from Tier 3, they still get to sit down with me and do Tier 2, just so they get a lot of extra. So I meet with them Monday, Tuesday, Thursday for 20 minutes each group. And then Wednesdays are the days that those UFly groups on the top are progress monitored with Mrs. Long. So while Mrs. Long is working with, this is really confusing, it's just, it all makes sense in my brain, but. So on Wednesdays, when those kiddos on top are being progress monitored with Mrs. Long, she's the one that's doing all of our testing for us, because we don't want to waste time just testing. We want to give them instruction. So on Wednesdays is when I have my 3 guided reading groups, and then I have my GT kiddos, and then I have one little friend that, I have more than one little friend, but he's my friend that I could help with in math. So that's kind of where my Fridays are thinking right now. But that's just an example of my daily schedule in a week, just in that 40-minute block. Yeah, it makes sense up here. It does.
And I think you say it so well, 40 minutes.
Yes.
And you've got a full day too yet, so like that's impressive, the systems you all are building, so.
So to answer your question, what are the others doing during the Tier 2 reading group time? So this is just a little picture. My kids like the lights off when they're on. But they go on Pathways, and Pathways is tailored to all of their specific learning needs. 2 days a week they are doing math, and then the other 2 days a week they are doing reading. They are not on their computers for the full 40 minutes, 20 minutes each day. 20 minutes of math, and then after the 20 minutes, they have choices they can read from their book bins, because I feel like that's one thing that is kind of missing in our day. Like before we had CKLA, it was get a book bin, you get to go shopping in our classroom library, pick out all the things that interest you. We're missing that piece in our, tier 1 instruction. So they get really excited when I say you can get your book bin. So they read for enjoyment during that time. They can read library books from our classroom. They can have book clubs with one another in the classroom. Sometimes I use the leftover 20 minutes as a time to catch up on the tier 1 instruction if they didn't get a chance to finish up what we were doing that morning. So it's kind of like, I don't want to say a study hall, but it's if you didn't get your work done, this is your chance to finish it up. So they're not just sitting on computers for 4 minutes, like 40 minutes. Otherwise they'll get bored, so.
And the iReady person said that research shows that we should have 40 minutes per subject per week. So that's why most teachers are doing 2 days math, 2 days reading, making sure that any kids that are in that tier 3 or tier 2 instruction are still having the opportunity to go on their pathway. Like I said, it takes kids all the way through, so it doesn't matter where they're starting. If they are more proficient, it'll continue to push them to be a year's growth from wherever they're starting to. So we know that pathway is super critical for giving that extra practice for them in that time too.
Good.
Do you have any other questions for Erin and Pam before we move on to the next part?
So
Great.
you're using this iReady for the first time this year.
Yes.
So how's it going? Is it learning it wise? And do you feel that you're gonna be pretty effective with it by the end of the year?
I think right now it's a lot.
Yeah,
but
it is a lot.
It's a lot. My brain's kind of on overload with it, but I think that it's going to be great once we kind of get the hang of it.
And once you get used to like where the areas you're accessing, one thing that I think is amazing is it will create reading partners for me. And it's based on their Lexile levels or how they performed in the diagnostic. That was something that I used to way overthink and take too much time to figure out how to group in, and now it's all right there. And to the point of that, having those conversations, I can even think about how I'm gonna set up my classroom in little pods so that those groups are together. And it's not like the highest with the highest, they split them. It looks like maybe high, and then they go down, and then they take this middle group and bring them up so they're paired this way. And so just to facilitate those conversations too in class, that's been really helpful. And then there's all kinds of instructional resources. If you can see a student doesn't know their long vowel teams, I can go in there and get instructional materials to quickly teach that. But I have to go there a different way. I don't have the path to get there right away yet, so.
And if there's something on Pathways, which is the computer program that they do based off of iReady, if there's something in Pathways that they're flagged, like, ooh, they're struggling with this, they can't get past this, iReady will give us lessons to use with that child to get them past that hurdle. So everything that's new is always a lot at first, but you learn it and just keep cruising, so.
Yeah, you can even watch the lesson that they're doing, the one that they got flagged on. So you can see like maybe what might be tricky for them. And then like have them sit alongside of you and watch, and then, oh, okay, wait 1 second, did you read that all the way through, or, whatever it is. That's been helpful to be able to preview what they're doing, to be able to help them just slow down and take a look again. Because usually it's just something little.
Makes me think of like a bank statement, like, how much money you got, like, we know our data, but like, how much are we spending on Starbucks, how much, as we start to like go into it a little bit more. So we know what we've got, our data is showing us what we have, and now we can start to dig into it a little bit more. As kids start using Pathways, it'll start telling us more accurate data throughout the year too. We don't have to wait for that next diagnostic piece, which is nice as well. Great. So, just to tie it back to our culture playbook a little bit, we are a culture of belonging at FLC. As you can see here, we have plenty of time that we are collaborating. This actually was today. Lauren and I had every single grade level team in this building, or in that room today. Really just honing in, dotting, I said this wrong, I said dotting our T's and crossing our I's by the end of the day today. But we are really just going through and making sure our interventions and personal reading plans all make sense and are purposeful for all students. And that happens during our grade level team meetings. We also have those CT times and staff collaborations too. I mean, every team here is just wonderful. Like coming in from someone who didn't know the district well, I've really enjoyed getting to know all the grade level teams and their dynamics. And I mean, everyone really just puts students first, which makes my job so much easier, right? If they're all willing to do the work, which is great. They have systems in play, and then I just can add my 2 cents, which is awesome. So. Great. So then, based off of that, we are really diving into next path. What Pam was describing with like the sticky notes and stuff, like that's how we used to do it, how we used to group kids, how we used to track things. Next path kind of does that all for us. So we are going to be meeting 2 times a month where we're going to be looking at that data in academic team meetings. Those are a committee that has a grade level representative and then all the other teams in the school too, to see how we can support students in their growth as well. So not only is our grade level teams looking at this data, we're almost taking a step back and looking at it as a whole school too, and seeing where those gaps are. We can fluctuate supports where we see those, like again, we see a 3rd grade has a huge jump. Do we have some more support we can give some other grade levels and kind of follow the data essentially. So that happens during those academic team meetings. And then those CT times on Wednesdays are where we're going to be able to kind of do that co-planning, where we're going to be able to support the tier 1 instruction and then make sure 2-tier instruction is solid too, 2-tier and tier 3 as well.
All right, to wrap up, this is a mural that Mrs. Harbath had all of our kids create. So that is all 606 of our amazing FLC students, and above it, it just says, "We are one." And I think hopefully, like throughout this presentation, you heard just the collective effort that all of this takes. And I think that, that starts at the top too, just with Dr. Mino and the leadership and the clarity that we all have as building leaders as we go into this work. And then, again, the partnership with Kara and Jen Towell and Margaret, and just the expertise in that literacy space, and teachers like Erin and Pam and all of the teams. I mean, like Kara said, we have amazing staff who are so willing to do this work, and I'm sure you're exhausted and just hearing that, like, that's 40 minutes of the day in the life, and then there's all the other.
And then a tooth falls out of it, and then
Yeah. So I'm just really fortunate for all the individuals like here in this room, and that includes all of you too, for your support, and really optimistic for the future and just excited. I know we're going to accomplish great things this year.
Questions for the group?
No, I guess my background putting new systems in, there was always, you could go into, every time you did it, you knew who was going to be your supporters, who was going to try to detract you. But it sounds like you've got everybody on the same page and everybody's buying in. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've kind of been laying this groundwork for a while, and part of why we asked Pam and Erin too, they've been a part of our academic team for a couple years, and so they've started with the win time and supporting students even outside of their classroom. And so there's been a lot of these things, I would say, that have been laying the foundation, and but yeah, now it's just really fine tuning it, and yeah, I would say everyone's on the ship.
It blows my mind because this presentation was 40 minutes. No, and that's how much you get done in that amount of time. You know what I mean? So like, it just kind of shows the appreciation. And then I had underlined in the beginning, just as both of you were presenting, we've got some great people. So you guys do a great job. So thanks for cutting some time out of your personal time as well to share your story with us.
I don't know, none of my kids got lost today, so.
There you go. That's a win, right?
That's a win.
thanks for putting all this together too. I know this is a lot of lift in addition, and then coming to the board, like John was saying, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story. And that's the whole point of this, is we really want to get more story out so that, I mean, they hear the general or the, 30,000 foot view a lot. And to hear what you all are going through, even in that 40 minutes segment, it's like, that's the real. And we need more of that to be shared out. And honestly, with our public too, because they have no idea what we do every single day. And it's amazing. And it just shows how you take the profession to another level. And I can see that in the systems that you're building and what you're working through. And there's a drive for it. I mean, just the way that you're explaining it, and like you want it, you want to go get it. So that's exciting for me too, for all of our kids. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question too, because you take some of it for granted, but you should know the lingo. Guided reading, So thank you for asking.
If you want to stick around, you're more than willing to stick around. We're gonna do some iReady and some policy and some other things like that, right? But you also have the ability to exit. Yeah. Thank you all. All right.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay, folks, we are gonna actually jump into some iReady world, just kind of show you what that looks like a little bit. This is again just a quick drive through of what you're seeing, and I'm gonna start out with just like, what does the assessment look like from the eyes of the student? Okay, and this doesn't paint every picture, but it kind of gives you a little bit of where things are happening. I'm only gonna pick a few grades here to kind of show you what this looks like. I'll take grade 2. So the student starts out, they have, everything's read to them in terms of directions. So they know, like, and that's where you see them have the headphones on. Everybody's got that ability, so they can listen to that as they're walking through the actual activity. And then, obviously, with the help of whoever the teachers in the room, they're gonna say, like, we're doing the reading right now, so please choose reading. We're just gonna go with that direction. And it's built for the level of student. So you're gonna see like cartoon characters at that 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade level, and then it gets into more of a different level once you get to that. So then they're just kind of.
My name is Lori. We are going to answer some questions today. But wait. What kind of questions? What if I don't know how to answer them? That's okay. I'll teach you. Let's start with this question. Speaker buttons play words or sounds. Tap on all 3 speaker buttons. Whistle. Phone. Car. Now, tap on the picture of the car. Tapping on a speaker button plays words or sounds. Tapping on a picture chooses an answer. Look at the pictures. Choose the picture of a dog. If you're done choosing your answer, tap on the orange Done button. If you want to choose a different answer, tap on a different box. Great job tapping the Done button to move on. This next one looks tricky, so I'm going to show you how to do it. What is this a picture of? Watch how I answer this. First, let's listen to the answer choices. Zebra, lion, giraffe. Next, let's choose the best answer. I think it's this one, zebra. So I'll tap on the white box around the speaker button. When the answer I want to choose is orange, I click Done. Now you try. What is this a picture of?
So it goes through a lot of things.
Turtle.
I'll see if I can move here a little bit faster.
Find the word helmet.
And again, if you get something wrong, the question goes lower, all right? When you get something right, it takes you to another level on the set, back and forth between it. So they're saying helmet, I say helpful, and see what happens. You just keep going on, right? what does unable mean? And then I say, oh yeah, that feels like not able to do that. Move on. And this is not how
Great
fast
job
you get a
finishing
break,
this
but
part.
there's
Let's
breaks
take a quick break
intermittently
to give your
through
brain
the
a
process.
rest.
So
Then we'll keep going.
a little gamification during the time. Let's get their minds off it. So that's second grade. Now we'll move up to like, let's go 6th grade, see what that looks like here. They do a similar walkthrough. Let's just go math for fun. As you can tell, the less cartoony and a little bit more what to expect. Giving all the, base. Again, that's all read for them anyway, throughout the process. You can do tutorials of everything, or you can just go right on. Again, they just go right to the heat of it. Anyone want to guess? Are we gonna get this right here? 6th grade level math. All right. Let's go with this one, right? So you keep going. I mean, the same thing. I'm not going to go through all this, but it just keeps going, and that through the percentage of the test. Again, it takes anywhere from 20 to 40 minutes to complete this initially, and it's 3 times a year that they'll take that. Okay. I just wanted to show you a little bit behind the scenes of what they're actually getting into. Okay. Next, what I want to show you is so they take the test.
I have one question.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Our multilingual students, is this also
Yes.
Spanish?
Yeah, so so if they're multilingual, all the directions are read in Spanish, so that they have that, but anything like passages, those are not, so that's, or, specific to like something that, a problem, like a math problem, they're not reading.
Okay,
So it is limited to just the directions of what it is.
okay.
And
Do we
ahead.
have staff then that are helping them through that? How does that work?
No, the
then?
point is to try to
Just
see
check.
where they are
Okay.
literally at within it, and that's the hard part. But we also then get a gauge of how far do we need to go to help and assist those students.
Sure.
Okay. Just so you know too, we do access testing for all of our ML students, and I can break down that sometime, but that's a separate test for ML so that we know where they're at too. And there's a continuum everywhere from 1 to 6. 6, you're to the point of exiting. 1, you're just an incoming non-English speaker coming into and a lot of stuff behind that. I'm just giving you a very simplistic perspective. Okay, and then we were here before, and this is where you can do multiple different types of results. I'm looking specifically, I want to see what math and the diagnostic reads, and I can go from my level where I can show the whole district. Okay, here we go again. Wonderful. Get back in here. Okay. Analyzing performance, either reading and math. I can go to that, check out specifically where we're at as a district. I can go to specific schools. We can even, teachers will get just their course. So just their grade level, they're only gonna see students in their classes, okay? Building principals will see their whole building. District administration will see it all. Kara Hartkoff sees it all, so she can best help and support. We have a couple other people who see everything across the frame. I shared a little bit this before, but just showing, kind of what Lauren and her team was talking about, where that proficiency line is. Again, they're over a year ahead of grade level, at grade level, a year behind, 1 grade below, 2 grades below, and then 3 grades below. And this is a district response. And then as Lauren was talking about before, you can see this in terms of where we're at right now. Proficiency within the district in math is 23% proficient. And that means, again, we've got 4th graders coming in. They haven't learned 4th grade material yet, so they're probably not proficient in that area yet. So they're waiting for they're most likely in that yellow zone. This is if we have typical growth, it'd be at 47%. And then if you go a step further, you get into the stretch growth. As also Kara was indicating, that 45 minutes or 40 minutes a week per subject matter, you could potentially see that. But what you notice and heard from all these teachers is that they're not just doing that. Those groups that they're pulling them out of, what they're focusing specifically on some of those categories. So it's not just the asynchronous learning that these kids are, they're getting double, triple hit with multiple different strategies and work. And that's so impressive that they're doing that, and the way that they have a system built up. That 40 minutes of power hour. And then in addition to that, they get, their own asynchronous on top of that. Plus, they get CKLA and bridges for that day. So there's a lot, but this is, again, new as of this year. We're putting this into play. And that's what's so exciting about this, and you can see it too, that they know where things are at. Even Pam said, I can put groups together and just do this. I know where the kids are at. I don't have to search for the Lexile. It's all done through the tool. So I'm super happy with how our teachers responded. You can also look at specifics. So like they were talking about the pathways, the asynchronous path and how that works. I was going to go into this with you before. I'm going to pause on this. In your packets on iReady, I put something very similar to what Pam had. It just shows without the names of the students. It even shows grade levels, like where are things at specific to the topics. And this one specifically reads like the just kindergartners itself. They're just kindergartners across the board. So these are kindergarten students. And then they have where they're at in each of those levels. Again, the colors differentiate where things are at specific to what's happening. PA, phonics, PH, phonics, and then they get the comprehension oversight. So you can really drill down specifically how you can help or assist those students. And as Pam said too, in addition to just the asynchronous, they will also produce lessons for the teacher that I can go in, look at the lesson, mimic the lesson, and then help that small group out as well, in addition to everything else. The second page just talks about per class. This is more of like the proficiency scale again, and then per grade. So you can really break it down. I just did not include names or for confidentiality purposes on this sheet itself. Okay. Flipping into the pathways themselves, you can actually watch or at least get an idea of where things are at in terms of what are they learning. And this means that personalized asynchronous learning. I'll just show you this from this level, from reading, and we're going to go into, sorry everybody, friendship learning, and we go down here, and then they have like a whole bunch of different things, and these are the kids specifically in phonological awareness. They are going through, and this is piping in for them in their asynchronous learning. And I'll just give you an example. Let's see what one of these looks like, so you can see it. I think, mind you, I think this is kindergarten, so. I thought Oregon Trail was great when I was young. I mean, like, come on.
Welcome to the space by the U. Do you want to steer?
Hey, you! Cookies are baked and bacon is cooked. Investigate!
On major peril, always need something done. But there's so much to learn, and Earth is so much fun. Here comes some shapes. Get ready to play. Put sounds together to hear words. Agent X, tap any shape to get started. Bat. Cat. More shapes are coming. Agent X, put them together to make words that rhyme. Tap any sound shape to see what happens. Bat. Bat.
This is what Kara was alluding to, but in a program versus them doing it. So. And
Are
this
you
is,
sure you want to exit the lesson?
yes. But again, I'm just showing you kindergarten. That goes all the way up through 8th grade. And then also for our students in special education high school, they also have access to all these things to help them. And they might be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th grade levels below the proficiency level for that. And then how do you work that back up? And that's where caseload managers and other people are working specifically on intervention. When they're talking about their 40 minutes, those caseload managers at the high school are using that intervention time that they have, or resources we call it, to really double down on that, and not just in the past, we focused a lot on homework. Get your homework in, come on, homework. Well, if you don't know how to read, or if you don't have the level of understanding in math that everybody else does, good luck with even beginning the homework. And so how do we get them with the skill sets so that they can actually find success in some of these areas versus just continue, oh, just keep doing the homework when they're not gaining any ground at all. Okay. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else I want to really show you.
Does Kara just cover FLC?
No, so Kara watches over everything. She's been a little bit more in FLC because of Act 20 right now, but she's working over at BAMS. She's working over at high school level 2. Jen Towell takes a lot though of BAMS and the high school level, just so they can split up a little bit of the work. And Jen Towell has been over there for quite some time already, so she's helping out that. Kara's helping direct, foster what we need to do, give some, direction in terms of what is next. And that team together has been phenomenal. And then they work with each of the building principals. So just like you saw Kara working with Lauren, they're doing that same thing with Jillian and Dwayne, and trying to figure out how can we foster the best way to help our students. And then it's coming out in either CT or PT time. So then we double down and we get even a better product at the end of the day. There's only one other thing you can do on this. There's many things you can do on this, but if you look at assessment, they can create literacy tasks specific to particular students as well. And so I can do it specific to progress monitoring, and I can work just specific to friendship. And then what our teachers have done, kind of like what Pam's saying, is they start creating different task libraries that the students can focus on, but it's also digital too, so they don't have to sit down and go, okay, we're gonna go over this now. They just put those things together based upon what they're seeing. And this is even for, once we get into it a little bit further, the enriched students who are doing really well, that, hey, maybe you can do stuff at the 5th or 6th grade level when you're 4th, and putting those things packaged together so that enrichment level keeps going as well. Okay. So in January, our students will take that assessment again, but I don't know if you heard Kara, we're not just waiting for January to happen with the intervention. We're using that asynchronous, we're using that to feed off of okay, what are we noticing from that asynchronous learning? But in addition to that, we're doubling down in what you're seeing with those 40-minute gaps of just getting specific with each one of those areas. So we should see some growth because of how laser-like we are. I can't say how much, but there should be something from the beginning to this time when we check back in January with this. Any questions about the iReady program? I gave a handout. It's like the KWKT. We've given that to all of our staff. They have awareness of what it is. It even tells you timings of when this happens, what it's used for. If you want more of a look at iReady, let me know. I could probably get you a demo account. You can go in and play a little bit more without all the students' names in it, but it just gives you a sense of what's happening there. Some people are referring to NextPath, and we don't have time to go through a lot of it tonight, but I can kind of just give you a quick scan. This was what EduClamor was before. So all of our data, iReady, student management system, incidents, all this stuff gets dumped into NextPath, so you can have a really pretty easy way just to view data quickly. And I'm still working with them to get a dashboard set up for y'all, so it's an easy, quick look. So remember when we were, too far into this, I can't, okay. Remember we were looking and trying to figure out okay, how do we see all this stuff on the regular with our principals? They come and report out oh, this is what the behaviors are, this is what the absentee. You can see all that really simply through this. Let's see, hopefully I can get this. Okay, here we go. So there's a lot of different things. You can create data walls, you can do anything. Here's a quick thing, and I've got it, I think, set so that students' names are not on here. Yes, good. So when Carrie would come in and talk about absences, this is the whole district at a really quick glance. And what's really cool, I think, about this is on the side here, they show you percentages, in general, 91% of our kids are not at risk from absenteeism right now. Average daily attendance overall, 97.3%, which is pretty awesome. And then they talk about different things, the disproportionality of students of different race and how that affects. Students not in the majority race are 91% at target compared to 92% for whites. So that's not a huge gap yet. But again, this is in real time. So we're getting this dumped in every night. So people can see this and it comes back over. I can go, the other cool thing is I can make it specific to just to friendship if I wanted to. Like I can go into like this area and then I can see all the students specific in that one pocket. And I can go and make sure that that student's okay if I want to check in. All the names here are like Fat Tiger or Fair Tiger, things like that. So it's not student names, but this is our real data, which we have a setting on. It's a little toggle. It's called the Yeti tag, and it just takes all our names off of it, but you can still see the data that we're playing with. Another really cool thing, and this is just quickly, this is all the behaviors from the middle school and high school in the last 17 days. So you can kind of see really quickly at a moment's notice and a glance of like what's happening. This is where it gets really fun if you really love data. Like I can tell you where most of the incidents are happening for any kind of behavior. It's in the classrooms. 48 of those were occurring there. Okay. Incidents by month, what are we seeing? Well, September is the only one we really kind of been in, so that's the majority of them. Incidents by the weekday. Thursday seems to be our hot ticket. Why? I don't know, but maybe there's something that we have to think about. It even gets down to the hour of the day. Like when is the peak period for incidents to happen? Well, according to our data right now, it's about 1 p.m. after lunch. All right. And then you can say incidents by school. So you see those different flex from Horace Mann and Bessie Allen right now. Incidents by grade. And then I can go into any one of these too. So I can see specifically who were those offenders at that time within that incident. And then every single one of these are the actual descriptions of all the events that were taking place within that. Because all that stuff's cooked in from Skyward or Cumulative or SMS, and it just rolls in, which is pretty amazing. Last thing about this, and I'll take another whole time to share you a little bit more, but this is what Lauren was talking a little bit about with iReady. Like all the stuff comes in from iReady, so all the assessment comes into NextPath 2, and we can see specific to percentile, let's just say quickly here. And I think this is going to be all of it. So I know, and this is kind of hard to read to a little bit, but the measure, this is the fall data. So everything you just saw in iReady is right there in the district, but a little bit more platformed. It shows each of the school breakdowns, so you can see that. It shows by grades. And then I can go on any of these toggles on that green and say, who are those 28% of students? Or who are those students who are in the yellow zone and the red zone? And then you get a nice little overwatch here. 585 students perform below target in all windows. So they're below that proficiency. And remember, this is the beginning of the year, so you have students who are just starting fourth grade who've never been in fourth grade before. So that number is going to be higher. And over time, that should obviously change. And we have a disproportionality too that we have to notice, meaning there's a gap between students of color and then students who are white within this frame. So just
So when we get the iReady testing done in January, that'll all update automatically.
yes. So you'll see, you can say, this is what it looked like in the fall, September. This is what it looked like in January. It shows it all
Some
right
of
there.
the narrative on the right might
Yes.
actually describe that
Absolutely.
change.
And that's what we don't have yet, is any type of growth or any type of,
You don't have a trend yet.
Right.
Or
right. Yeah. So really nice tool. It's very user friendly. Anybody can pick it up and really start something. And these are all data walls that have already been made by our like elementary, Bessie, other places, so you can see data really quickly. Lauren was talking about progress monitoring certain students. They can camp those students in specific to the monitoring that they need and then find out what they need to do to help that student with notes saying, hey, they need to see Mrs. So-and-so right now or whatever it might be, but they keep track of all that record.
those data walls are basically like template reports that someone had created, and then they publish that so others can see?
Yes.
Okay.
So if you, and they can make shortcuts to go specific people from a full grade level to a full school to just a few people to it as well. If they only wanted us a few people in that zone.
Is there ever a risk of having too much?
I mean, data in front of you?
Yeah, like, I mean, I've seen that, you know, before too. It's like, sometimes you have so much that it's actually hard to focus. So is there, I mean, we're early or whatever, but especially when you have people creating their own reports.
Right. Most of the reports are created by the building principals
Okay.
or our, so it keeps it like within.
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's not a
focused
fire
that way.
hose, it's,
Yeah.
okay, this is, we see the base, we see what we need to do, and without going overboard. I agree with you, like you can get, the reason why I like this though, it's fast, it's right on your fingertips, you can see it really quickly, it's a quick snapshot, and you can move forward. And so my hope is I'm working with the CEO of this product, and we're trying to do something for the board, so you guys can just open up the one page and you can just see like, here's where attendance is at, here's where our behaviors are at, so that we don't have to have the staff member come in or the principal come in and say, hey, we're here right now. You can just look at it and get a good sense of what things are happening. If that makes sense. Okay.
Well, I think that from my perspective, it'd be nice to have that and then have those be somewhat, I don't know, like not static forever or whatever, but like we can see it over time.
Yeah,
So we're not
Absolutely.
always seeing different, you know.
Right. I mean, would it be cool though if I could come in every single board meeting and say, hey, here's where we're at right now. You can just look at it for 15 seconds and say, hey, everybody, here's the public, this is what's happening.
Right.
Right? So, and you would see the changes over the time.
Yeah.
Based on September versus November.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay. Any other questions about Next Path? Again, we've got some really good tools in place that helps our staff and everything else move along pretty well. So that kind of concludes in the academic and learning segment of the share out. I kind of want to get some feedback at some point in time, like how that delivery was for you all, because obviously we have other principals who will also be coming forward, but it went right with that template that I shared with you. So I'm curious at some point, like, was that more of what you'd like to see? Is there other things that we're missing that you're not seeing yet? I mean, that you'd like to know more, or are we on that same page of trying to get a little bit more under the hood for y'all?
I think it was a good start. I think, excuse me, so early in the process for the data. I mean, once we get into it, I'd like for them to go through a little more examples of how they're exactly using it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little too early to do that. So.
Mm-hmm.
But, and then if they could, either before or after, if they could send us the presentation electronically.
We are gonna get that to you. That's, yep, absolutely. I'll get all those to you.
Can that load on our new?
Yes,
software
we'll just load it right up to that, and all those documents will be on there as well. Yep. Which, again, that's just a good moment to pause here. We have a new service for communicating back to y'all, and to the public for that matter. It's really easy, it's quick, it's designed. Now, I mean, getting to know how to put the pieces together, but Natalie's done a great job of like really uncovering that and making that work. And I think it's really clean, and it'll be a great efficiency for our public too, just to see it quickly. So we can take all the documents that we had, put them on there, and make sure people can see that as well. So Lauren's work and others. Okay, cool. Cool. All right, engagement communications, it's the second read of those policies. Just throwing out there, any questions at this point based upon what we walked through or what was there? Okay. Okay. All right. Moving on to financial operations. Maria, sticking it out, just hanging in there. Welcome. And in your folders, there is information. So you've got both the budget adoption materials as well as the overall numbers behind it too as well. So Maria, the floor is yours. Talk to us.
All right. Well, the purpose of this meeting or of this segment is to adopt the initial budget. It is definitely in the beginning stages. We don't have a lot of the information yet, and I just listed the bullet points on the memo that you have in front of you, the key pieces of information that we're still missing. Final equalized aid certification, that doesn't come till October 15th, and that directly affects our levy. So the numbers that you have in front of you, they will definitely change. Our equalized property values, the final number will come out on October 1st from the state. We have our July 1st estimate, which they estimate that the property values will go up by about 7.4%. So definitely more than what we projected back in the fall and spring. The voucher information, as well as open enrollment and our third Friday count, that will all come in October as well. Our pupil count was on Friday, and Kayla does a phenomenal job on that. Her report to DPI is due on October 3rd, so we should receive those results soon after that. Once we have all that information, I'll be seeing you again on October 13th at our annual meeting, and then we'll do a deeper dive into all of the numbers, all of the revenues, the expenditures, all the enrollment information. So a lot more information coming. This is more of an overview and a high level view of where the budget is, what it's looking like so far. So just to back up a little bit, our 24-25 numbers came back great. We ended up with about an $800,000 surplus. And that's due mainly to insurance and the programs that we put in place, both Smith RX and Garner. And then we had quite a few people move over to family savings plans. So they took their family and off of our insurance and put it on their spouses. So that has also really had a positive impact on our insurance. So the insurance, as well as some staff cuts or staff that left that we didn't replace at that time, also impacted the budget and added to that surplus. So at the end of the year, we ended up with about a 22%, almost 22% fund balance, which is awesome. I didn't even apply for a line of credit this year because I'm feeling very optimistic. So yeah, we're trending really, really well. Let's see. So now diving into the 25-26, again, we are waiting for a lot of information. So on this document, you have kind of a history going back to 22-23, and then the following 2 years, the audited 2 years. Technically, 24-25 is unaudited until December, and then the proposed budget is in the final column. I know you haven't had a whole lot of time to digest this, but just a couple things I wanted to point out. In our revenues, there is quite a big jump. Well, first of all, in the 240, if you look along the left side, 240 where it says payments for services, you're gonna see in the first 3 columns, there is a big number. That was explorations, and now we don't have explorations, so that's why that's a 0 in that 25-26 column. So we're losing the revenue there, but on the flip side, we're also not spending that money on the expenditure side. Fees, so in the 290 row, fees went up quite a bit because we doubled some of those fees, both for Oriole Zone and our school fees and our athletic fees. Our open enrollment, that number is down by where you see 340. So our open enrollment tuition, the state is giving us more, so that's why we're seeing quite a significant jump in open enrollment revenue. What are some other bigger ticket items? There was some talk at the federal level about our grants, our federal grants. We did take a little bit of a hit. If you go down to 750, we did take a little bit of a hit, well, about 50,000 in Title I. So, and that's what Margaret does. That's our reading and
And this comes back to the federal government gave $52 million to the state for this specifically, but that's I think it was last year, 70, 75 or whatnot. Something to that degree. So it did cut a little bit, but there's also talk about a block grant coming back. So that's still not heard of yet, but we don't know when that potentially could play back into that as well. So just a little update on that side.
What is the federal 780, the federal revenue through the state?
780. That is our school-based services and Medicaid. So normally it goes into special ed, but when it's on the 780 row, that's in Fund 10 in our general, and that is prior year. So if we get $200,000 this year, but it was from prior year, they have us coded in Fund 10. So I don't know if we're gonna have any prior year Medicaid payments, so I'm leaving that 0 just to be conservative on that number. Does that make sense? Okay. All right, so down in the expenditures, not a whole lot of change since we talked last. Again, a lot of changes are in the health insurance arena, and then some in staffing as well. There was also you'll see some anomalies down by 490,000. You'll see that decreased quite a bit, and that's simply a coding change that PPI had us do, so it's shifting it up into 430,000. So we also have that to deal with. Let's see. I know you have a lot of time to digest this. Are there any questions or anything?
I just want to make a statement for the public, with the state budget, which we did not know what it was prior to coming into the end of the year, and the state budget wasn't even determined until July. And that was one of the things we were referencing throughout the whole referendum process, saying we don't know, it's an unknown variable at this point in time. But some key things happened for our population and for our district in that, and Maria indicated one of them, open enrollment, dollars went up, and that obviously helps because we have a plus side on the open enrollment side for our district. The other big one was special education. For the first time in the history of our state, it was the biggest increase in terms of that percentage of what they were getting to special ed. We went from 30 to 42, which is more like 40, but we'll say it's 42. And then the following year is supposed to go to 45. So because of our population, because of the amount of students with special ed needs in our district, that significantly helped us too. We did not know those two things were coming. Plus, per pupil is again increasing based on the 450-year, $325 raise per pupil put into play. So there's multiple things that did help in that state. And I think the other thing that Maria was trying to indicate too is that insurance is up and down, and it just happens to be we're in a spot now based upon what you all heard the last time we had USI and Alex in here. We're finally finding some wins in that spot. So I'm just trying to explain the surplus for the public because that is something different that we have had.
Yeah, and this budget actually builds in a 10% insurance premium increase. We don't have that number yet from USI. It should be in that ballpark, and we do need to have an increase because we are still, we have negative reserves. So we want to build those reserves up before we do any cutting of premiums. So there is a 10% increase in there currently.
The only other thing I didn't mention, I'm sorry for not saying this too, is that, we had to cut 16 staff members, which also puts us in that spot because we did not know what the state was gonna bring at the other end of it. So we are, again, making the most with what we have, but also understanding that's where some of this other stuff is coming from, so people know.
And it's fair to say that we're adding some staff in areas where there are gaps and needs.
Yeah, I think we have to look at what the needs are within our district and reevaluate what that is, and then do the best we can so that we're making decisions for our kids.
All right, some other key numbers that I want you to be aware of. This also, so if you, this is on the second page, third page at the top. The revenue or the under capital projects, 46 and 49, those numbers really shift from year to year, and that's referendum. So you'll see a significant decrease, and that's because we're using the last 100,000. Actually, we just spent the last 100,000 of our referendum money, so we're done with that. And then 46, that is, we're keeping money in there for capital projects. So if we have a large surplus, we can shift money into Fund 46 and hold it there for a roof or for a track or for any building upgrades. And it's a good place to house that money rather in our general Fund 10, because then we can be aided on it if we have it in Fund 46. So we try to take advantage of that.
And so Maria,
Yes.
we're consciously then putting some funds into it.
Yes.
Based on how it all plays out, we're gonna decide how much that goes into that.
Right, well, I moved about 700,000
Okay.
into there, so we're trying to build that up. We know that we've got roofs coming up, we know that we've got windows coming up, so
It looks like the fund balance went down though,
the fund balance
in capital
900.
projects.
46 and 40, well, it combines 46 and 49, so the fund balance would go down because we've used the referendum money. They're combined, so the fund balance should go down. Really, what's left in there is the Fund 46 money. So
49 is the
49 is referendum.
referendum.
Yeah, so if you look at 22, 23, that fund balance was 18 million because that's where all that referendum money was, and then we spend that down.
So, but the 714 is, that's the fund that we would add to what we
Yes,
had.
yes, for the most part, yes, that's,
So that 714 is what we have set aside for.
yes,
Capital.
for capital,
Through last year.
through June 30th,
Yeah.
yes. And we do that transfer
Through-
at the end of the year.
Because we had 805,
Through end of
Oh, I'm sorry, right, 805 is what we ended with on June 30th.
and then, because you just said we spent the last 100,000.
100,000.
The other
That's why we're at
30,000 is coming out.
714.
Yep,
Got it.
So my point is, unless I'm missing something, we didn't really add to it this year with any extra money.
we did, yes,
We would have been at 100,000
right,
if we didn't, because we had 805,000 left after last year. Tell me if I'm wrong.
no, you're,
We had 805,000 left end of 24, 25.
We spent 100.
We didn't yet because we spent it this year. And then we
So
put,
that would go down to
that 805 is with that 7 whatever we put in. So now we're at 805 still, and then we spent 100 or budgeted to spend 100 this year from what Maria just said.
So otherwise it would be zero.
Otherwise it would have been,
Right?
if we
Yeah.
didn't put the money from last year, it would have been 100,000.
yes,
The line, from my understanding, the line on ending fund balance for 24,
But then that would be at zero because 100,000 would be spent.
Would be gone.
Going,
right.
yeah.
So the only revenue this year that's going in is really interest, so that's that 9,000. And then, you can see under the 200,000 support services, that's the 100,000 that we're spending, and that's from Fund 49. So the rest that's in there now, that 714,000, that is strictly Fund 46.
Yeah.
Right, but what I'm saying is we didn't substantially add to it this year, right? Because we ended with 805, we spent 100. So we'd be down to 705.
But we got the 700 in before
The year
the
before.
end of it.
Otherwise, we would have started with 100,000
Yeah.
on that line where it says 805,749.
Oh, from
It
there,
was already
Yeah.
done.
no, right, so you added to it what this last year.
Right.
Mhm. Mhm.
I'm saying we're not adding anything to it this
No,
year.
I don't have anything budgeted in for 25, 26.
So I guess my question is, going down to the bottom, do we have room, since we're going from 815 down to 736? Can we add to that and start building, put more money back into that?
Yes.
Definitely. We don't do it until the end of the year when we know for sure what our surplus is going to be.
No, I'm saying instead of levying 7,073, should we levy 7.3? Why not up the levy? Because we're dropping the mill rate from 815 to 736.
That's the recommendation, yeah, yes.
And my question is, since we've got so much room there, why don't we bump that up, throw it into that capital project fund? So we build up that surplus even more,
The,
purposely build it up, not just, you know what I'm saying?
Rick, you mean raising the mill rate back up to where we did last
Pick a
year?
number, right?
The last
Maybe not to 815, but to 8 or something.
so if we do nothing, if we just levy, just straight levy, it would go down to 643.
Right.
This is kind of in the middle, and when Matt and I talked with Mike Clark, he said he would really like to see us be at like 750. The state average is $7 and, I can't see today, $7.04 or
4 cents, I
something.
think it was, yeah.
That's the state average, so we're still above the state average. It's definitely up for discussion.
I'm not against going higher.
Yeah, I
I mean,
mean,
like, it's just, again, like you said, either building up, keeping it and sustaining it at that too, so we're not having such a big gap too as well, and if we have to, go back.
Because the chances of a referendum passing are, in the next several years, I think is slim and none. So we've talked about gaps that we see coming up, we've talked about buildings that see maintenance. I would guess like to have a discussion on, instead of going down to from 815 to 736, or if we went to 775 or something, or even $8, we're still lowering the number.
But in your answer to me this morning, you mentioned that Clark also talked about the impact of the view of the public with doing that. So we're already over levying in what you're proposing.
Right.
But what did you say again about that?
Well, it shows that we're making an effort to lower the impact of the taxes for the community as much as we can, as much as we reasonably can, while still kind of smoothing that curve, that tax rate curve.
Is there, so can any of we're projecting that our Fund 10 balance is gonna go up as well.
Yes, right now it is looking like about a $500,000 surplus at the end of the year. That could change, but you can certainly then put some of that into Fund 46.
Because that's what you did this year.
Right, it's just, we don't do it until the end of the year.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Sure. And we have until July 31st actually to do
You
it.
keep it there until you
Which
really know.
makes sense because we've collected that money already.
Mhm.
And now it's going into a place where if we have to do a larger project, there's not an ask to the community for
Mhm.
Right.
more money. And I also,
I mean, nobody wants to pay more money, right? But the fact is, we've talked tonight about significant staffing gaps. I mean, so if we wait till next year, we'll be at say we're at seven, we keep it at 736, we might end up going to 850 or something. Which, I mean, we're at a yo-yo there. I'd rather see it stay somewhat consistent personally.
What do you have any of the, like, so for the 25-26 plan,
Mhm.
I'm assuming all of the current or expected staffing requirements are built into that.
They are.
Correct.
Those positions that you just talked about.
Yes, yeah, other than the one that we talked about with PE.
It's in there.
It's
as
in there
well.
though now. Okay, yeah, it
Yeah.
is in there. So
Everything that I know is in there.
Positions you.
No, that is not.
No,
That's for the,
that's-
that's for the 26-27 school year. That would be.
Right.
Yeah.
That will add significantly
Mhm.
to this. And I guess, before we keep going, the other question I had is, you had put these curriculum dollars
Mhm.
out there, are those in the budget?
Yes.
So these are all in.
Yes. And increasing the levy is not going to help Fund 10. That's only over levying in referendum debt in Fund 39. So,
And that's fine, because I guess what I'm trying to avoid is a yo-yo on the mill.
I understand, that's been our philosophy and our practice for years.
So we're dropping significantly, and I think next year we'll have to, and I understand it'll go on to 46. But next year, if we have to raise those, or say the levy the same, then we'd have that money available for Fund 10 instead of 46, right?
Yes.
Doesn't it only go, you said it goes into Fund 39, right? Or isn't it just said?
Referendum proceeds go into Fund 49. But we won't.
No, but you said if we over levy, it can
Oh.
pay down on that
Yes,
39. So
Yes.
it doesn't go into 46 anyway.
correct.
But it pays off though.
We have to go to referendum anytime in the near future. Having a fund balance in Fund 39 just helps reduce that ask and then helps reduce the increase in the tax levy.
Okay, so you can put it into 39 in anticipation for a future referendum.
Yes. And
That would
is-
be
that's been.
primarily for capital project stuff.
Right, well, yes,
Mhm.
for capital projects.
Capital repairs, replacement.
Yes, new building,
So if I'm understanding, the way I would think of it is, if we over levy more this year, that doesn't help Fund 10,
correct,
goes into future thing.
correct,
But now next year, we keep that levy the same, and now that extra that went into the debt can go into Fund 10.
no, once it's in,
No, the extra we would get next year, the following year, by having a higher levy would go to Fund 10, right?
No, none of the
No.
over levy
No.
ever goes into 10, I believe.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be over levy, it'd be covering expenses like 4 positions or something like that.
it's a
What you'd
simple,
avoid is that yo-yo.
true, you do, but Fund 39 is the only place that you can
Right,
prevent that yo-yo.
right. So our Fund 10 is in good shape this year. So if we over levy, that would go into 39.
Correct,
So now next year, that extra money that went into Fund 39 could be used for actual Fund 10 expenses.
but there isn't any extra money in Fund 10 for
But I mean-
39.
But
No,
your
it
levy,
can't go from 39 to 10.
no, that's, I'm trying to think how to explain this. Your Fund 10 expenses are gonna go up next year, right? Possibly halfway significantly. So the levy would be the same, say we levied the same this year and last year. or next year, following. This year would be, in order to keep that mill rate fairly consistent, we raise it up this year, that would go into Fund 39.
Correct.
Now, next year would stay at the same level, but it would be actually funding expenses that we had in Fund 10 next year. So the mill rate would stay similar. The extra money this year would go into 39, but that it would cover the expenses the following year that are actual Fund 10 expenses.
They're two complete, Fund 10 has its own levy. So
The
when
only-
you have a revenue limit, it's,
So what's our revenue limit compared to what we're,
that's one document I didn't bring with me.
compared to what we're levying in 10?
I didn't bring that with me.
I mean, we're levying significantly less. In 10, we're down, whatever that is, 600,000, 700?
Yeah, I have that on my,
Six or 700,000.
right, 600,000.
And what I'm saying is next year, so our revenue then has to be higher, I'm assuming it has to be higher than it was last year.
Yes, well, it should be. I have the 20 kids built in, so we'll see how that all shakes up. But yeah, but yes, it should increase.
Right, so next year, we could levy in Fund 10, like 3.5 or something, this ballpark number, which would be 700,000 more than we are this year.
Well, it depends on what our aid is. So if our state aid comes in higher, then we have to levy less. So.
Right, but then we have more money in state aid.
Correct. But then your levy goes down because you're getting more state aid. So now, this year, if our state aid goes down, our levy is gonna go up, but we aren't gonna know that until the middle of October. We can't just levy just to levy, it's gotta fit within that revenue
No, I
limit
understand, it's
formula.
gotta fit within the revenue limit, but
Yeah.
since we levied 3.4, almost 3.5 last year, I'm assuming that revenue limit's gotta be up in that range again. This year, does the revenue limit ever go down?
It hasn't for us, no. I mean, it can if you have less kids. So,
So, Maria, can I just ask?
yes,
This might help. We are fully levying based on the revenue limit, or we're planning to, for the general operations levy.
yes.
No, we're not levying to our revenue limit.
Yes.
We
When
can't.
combined with the state aid, it's equaling the
Yes.
revenue limit. That's why
We
it
are
doesn't
levying
help to
to our
over levy Fund 10,
Well,
because we can't.
I know you can't levy it. But what I'm saying next year, I think our Fund 10 levy is gonna go, our Fund 10 expenses are gonna go up next year, I think significantly. So rather than go from a 7.36 mill rate to whatever it turns 8.15 or 8.30, why not put the 7.36 up to a bigger number?
You're not jumping as far?
So you're not yo-yoing, you're not going from 8.15 to 7.36 up to 8.40 or whatever.
That is completely a board decision. I can give you the recommendation, but
We already are doing that,
we are over
but
levying.
it's going into the referendum debt levy,
Correct.
which is where it has to stay. The only thing it can do is allow us, if we have a big expense, to transfer less of Fund 10 over to 46.
No, I understand.
So, Rick, are you just saying, okay, we've got 815, 736, you wanna smooth that? You wanna smooth that curve so that there's not a,
If I thought we were gonna stay at the funding level we are for Fund 10, then I'd say let's go down to the 736. But I think our Fund 10 is gonna go way up next year. So rather than, so I say put that 736 back, say to 8 or something like that, if it's under the revenue limit, which I'm thinking it would be, but I don't know. Then the next year, when we do that 8, rather than using that for the fund, the capital fund projects, that extra money is available for Fund 10.
Yeah, we don't have to transfer it into Fund 10.
Right.
We can
So then
leave
you
it
can
in.
use that extra in terms of,
Right.
again, if
Yeah.
you were looking at adding staff or whatever or whatnot, yeah.
But that doesn't have anything to do with the levy at all. The levy is what it is for Fund 10, so that's not going to affect
I
our
know, but-
surplus or deficit.
This year. So this year, we're putting an extra levy onto the, you're putting it somewhere to over levy that 836.
We're just asking for it from the taxpayers, that's not coming out of our budget.
So which of these categories on the last lines here is that 836?
Is the what? The
Where's the over levy for 836? Which levy is that in here?
referendum debt levy. It's,
Right. So I'm saying to even things out, instead of having that be 3.875, we make that more.
yes, you could do that.
Okay, so now next year, we take that we reduce that number, and that would give us more money available for the Fund 10 levy, if we had those expenses in Fund 10.
We should get together and meet maybe.
Because I'm saying then what I'm saying is next year, the referendum debt levy number would go down, and the general operation levy would go up.
Oh, sorry, Rick, I don't think
No, they're.
the referendum debt levy doesn't calculate into the revenue limit.
Revenue limit is only Fund 10 and
Well,
Fund 38.
We've got to have a ton of room on the revenue limit. If we levied 3.5 last year, we're down to 2.8 this year.
But
The
the state aid went
combination,
up.
right, the combination of the
The
2.8
state only
and,
went up 300. State aid only went up like 300,000.
And the students went down 20,
yes,
based on your calculation. So combination of what we got more in state aid and the reduction in,
The state aid wasn't much. I mean, it was like 300,000.
the combination of the general and the non-referendum is the max that we can levy.
The general and the non-referendum.
Yes, those two together. So what I have to do is subtract the non-referendum debt, so our leases, our things that we don't have a bond for.
But-
And then you back into the Fund 10 revenue, or the Fund
See,
10 levy.
I'd like that, it'd be interesting to know what the debt limit or the revenue limit is, because both the general operating levy and the non-referendum both went down significantly. Well,
Well-
non-referendum, not significant. We went down, whatever that is, 500, almost 700,000.
And some of it, remember that property values also plays into levy, so there's a lot of factors that go into it. And we can, if you wanna step in, I have the worksheets.
Well, I guess my point is, the discussion I think we need to have is, are we willing to just leave it at a low number? And then next year have to raise it significantly higher, because if we're having class sizes of 40, 45 kids, I think we all think that's unacceptable. So rather than go from 815 to 736 to 850, why don't we try to smooth that out more?
It's not, our expenditures aren't going, that does not determine the levy. Our expenditures don't determine the levy. So we could have $1 million more in expenditures, we still only can levy a certain amount.
To the revenue limit, right?
Well, depending on what our equalized aid is.
Right, but I'm saying we're 700,000 lower than we were last year in those levies. So I'm assuming none of those limits went down, but maybe the revenue limit went down.
Yeah, I have to,
I mean, since it never has, I'd be surprised if it did.
One of the things that I had asked Maria about in her response, repeating what Mike Clark had advised his guys, was if we need to go to referendum in the near future, it shows that the district is listening to taxpayers and doing what it can to lower the tax impact. That's why he recommended not going all the way to 636 or whatever, but over levying up to the 7.
Well, I understand what he's saying right now. I'm saying, I don't think a referendum is gonna pass. So we should be financially planning on how we're gonna cover that without yo-yoing the mill rate.
But we're already covering that in the proposed budget and still over levying to the 736. All these new teacher positions that we might be doing are in this budget. I don't know what significant increases we would have. We have the normal increases every year, but.
And we're still showing to grow the Fund 10 balance by almost 600,000.
I think I'd like to see the numbers, but I think we're gonna, next year, that's why having a 5-year budget would help, but I think if we were gonna add these positions, I think, and that adds insurance, that adds everything in it. I think you have a chance to lower the taxes, but and still cover yourself for the future, but maybe that's just me.
I do see the yo-yo effect, because I also don't want to, if we do go back at some point in time, which most likely will have to happen. To be real, depending on this, there's major things shaking up at the state level in 2 years from now. I don't want to have that gap so big though, too, when we have to go back. You have that gap between the two, like the closer we can be versus, because it can only, as it can be lower and lower, or else we can stay, closer to that level so that we can stay consistent with people. I know it's a cost, but at the same time, I think long run, long game, it could.
Well, I think that this budget does that though.
Mm-hmm.
Because the math would say we could go to 644, we're going to 736, so we are doing that.
And then the question is, what's it gonna be next year?
well, there is another opportunity to revisit it next year as well.
Right,
Yeah.
but what if it goes to 850 next year? Just because of stuff that is being recommended. So now we go from 815 to 736 to 850, that's why. And I have no idea what, with the plans that we're talking about, what that would mean for the following year, but.
But we aren't gonna be able to it would only be able to go up to 850 if we then
If you levy,
choose to over levy in the referendum debt again,
right,
or like by a bigger amount more.
right.
Because we aren't gonna, without going to referendum, we're still gonna be.
Well, I don't know what the revenue limit is. That's the kind of key, but I guess if you guys are comfortable, that's fine.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm not clear on what you're saying. Our expenditures are not, you cannot levy more because your expenditures go up. So
No, I get that.
I understand what you're saying when you wanna smooth it, because if you do go to referendum, then, you don't wanna go from $6.50 up to $8. That's tough. But, this year and next year, we shouldn't need to go to referendum. And after that, we don't, depending on what state aid is, you don't know what that levy is going to be. So
So maybe the question that you're asking is, did we do enough in the referendum debt levy category to protect us for the future? So it's really a matter of, did we do enough to hedge that or smooth it?
And, I mean, you look at the levy for 2010 went down $600,000. Almost $700,000. So that tells me the revenue limit would support us having 700,000 more levy in Fund 10.
I think the other components of the equation are probably important to understand with that question. Because we can only see here, just in this paper, that it goes down 600,000, but it's based on those other variables that are in it that make up the revenue limit, right? If I'm understanding it correctly. So we really need that other piece of the equation to see what happened there.
Right, but the revenue limit's never gone down.
For us, no, it has not.
Right, so, but we aren't under levying this, that's getting into the revenue limit.
No, I'm saying, how can that be? You're not telling us this is the revenue limit.
The revenue limit is an aid plus the
It's only,
the
but
aid.
the state aid only went up 300,000, so it's still 400 short.
That is, but our revenue limit is our equalized aid, which is on here in the revenues, plus that levy. That is our revenue limit. I mean, there's other,
You're saying the operational levy and this non-referendum debt levy added together hit with those other things, make it up to the revenue limit. We're at the max revenue limit.
there's like transfer of service in there, that's like
But you're
almost
saying we're at the
300,000.
max.
Yes, yes. We have always levied to the max, always.
And these 815s, the last 3-4 years, those are all over levies also, aren't they?
Yes,
Included
and
there.
139.
Yeah.
If you want to get together, Rick, I can show you that worksheet and what all goes into it.
Yeah.
It's,
And for tonight's purpose, this is an initial adoption. This is not like concrete, like we have to do exactly what we're saying right here, right now. So it's more of just review and saying, here's what we know now, and there's still things that have to get laid into it as well.
yes, I mean, there's another shot at this on October 13th. So this is the initial, if you want to give me a ballpark, you know, I can do a couple different versions.
Oh, maybe we get together and just talk about how this adds up to the revenue limit, because
Sure.
that seems baffling to me right now.
Yeah. And if you go on the DPI website, under the revenue limits, you can see the past revenue limit worksheets. The 25-26 is not completed on the DPI website. That's something that I have in my office that I'm playing with. But everything prior to that is finalized and they're all published on the DPI website. But yes, we can get together and you can look at my assumptions for 25-26.
And I don't understand how it went down $700,000. So that's what we can have to understand that.
We can definitely do that.
So I would suggest for tonight's purposes and for approving a preliminary budget that we leave it as proposed. And based on what our Baird has advised us, who we paid to advise us on this stuff. And then as these other factors start to come in and clear up, we can keep looking at the over levy question.
Any other questions for Maria? Thank you, Maria, for sharing and putting it together, and more to come. As always, right? So, John, that's all I have in our report, so, other than, just really quickly, I went to superintendent's conference last week, state superintendent's conference. It was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday morning. They had some guest speakers come in from the different areas. The amazing thing about that conference is there's over 150 different superintendents from the state. Obviously, we have 420 plus districts, but just getting a chance to talk to a lot of colleagues and just seeing where people are at right now. And financial is a big piece on a lot of people's minds in our world. Like a lot of people having to go to referenda this coming April. I mean, big name, big schools, but trying to figure that out. And so, at the same time, I feel fortunate the way the ball bounced with the state for us, so that we've got a decent foothold at least this year, and not having to try to figure out things, but in terms of referenda that was, but hearing all these people trying to go through that, asking questions and just listening, and then trying to help and assist any way I can. That's kind of where I was at. At the same time, the things that I hear from the presentations to the financial to the learning, we're in the right lane. I mean, it just feels really good. It was validating to just hear people talk and at the same time struggle with some things, but things that we're doing that they're not, that put us in a really good place for our kids. So it's just a great place to kind of just see and reflect and get a better sense of how things are going. Now, obviously we can always continue to get better, and there's things that I took from, things like everything from, there's a Royal Virtual Academy. I'm still trying to figure out how do we help our students who either, are in expulsion or are obeyed, that we have to give an alternative placement for them a little bit, how can we better help them in the future? That's a possibility in the future, working with them, even looking at, offering courses to kids that we can't offer because of cost, that could be offered through a platform or a network like that online. I mean, it's not ideal, but it also still provides an opportunity for those couple areas. But that's something I'm going to look into, do a little more crash course in that. So, but beyond that, just a really good experience to hear from, again, the multiple different people and how things are going across the state. And I always say I'm just fortunate to have a board that you all bring what you bring every single day. There's so many different happenings and stories out there, and I'm just really grateful to be able to work with a board like you all, and appreciate you. So that's the conference. Any questions about that at all? Okay.
Our next item is new business, and we've got 4 items on new business. The first one is consider approval of new hire from closed session. So welcoming Nick Kelly to the district. So looking for approval of that contract.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay, and then roll.
Okay, Hawk,
Yes.
Billings,
Yes.
Maffey, yes, Humphrey,
Yes.
Geckerman.
Yes. Second item is consider approval of initial adoption of budgets in total school levies and tax raise as presented today. So look for a motion for that.
So moved.
Second. And roll.
Maffey, yes, Humphrey,
Yes.
Billings,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Geckerman.
Yes. Third item is consider approval of second reading of board policies as listed, which was explained earlier by Matt. So look for a motion to approve second reading for board policy.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second. Roll when you're ready, Rick.
All right, Billings,
Yes.
Geckerman,
Yes.
Humphrey,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Maffey, yes.
And then final item is consider approval of moving January board meeting. Can't believe we're already saying January. From Monday, January 26th to Tuesday, January 27th. So look for a motion to move that meeting one day. I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Could we have some discussion?
Sure.
Absolutely. And my comments are nothing, absolutely nothing personal. I checked into my own thinking, but the issue was to change it. And we've done that a little bit recent years, but my concern is when we need a special meeting, we kick the dates around and we get something that's good for everybody. But by policy, the regular monthly meetings is the fourth Monday of every month. We make changes when, special situations like Christmas or we're on Easter break or, a few things like that. So I start to worry that, it's in the policy so that people know they can always kind of count on the fourth Monday as the next board meeting. Granted, nobody tends to come to the meetings, but we do get people watching on whatever, and they can watch it afterwards. But if we start getting into people just wanting to change the meeting because they're not available that particular night, I think we're kind of straying away from the intent of the regular monthly meeting. And, I understand, John, you would have a conflict that night. I checked the schedule. I missed the July meeting. We were on vacation. And that was, to me, that was just a decision I made on that. And I'm not necessarily saying that I'm not going to vote to approve this change. If it passes, I really want us though to start thinking about being careful about that. Jacob, you travel, Pete used to travel, miss meetings. Sometimes he can come in virtually, sometimes not, but sometimes you gotta make a decision, and if you miss a meeting, you miss a meeting. So I guess with that said, I just wanted to get that out there so that we be careful that it just doesn't get too easy to say, well, I can't make the October meeting, so can we change it? That's an extreme example, and I know absolutely why you change it, and I understand that, and if I was in your shoes, it'd be, a tough decision for me too. But, so that's my thought, and that goes back, I guess, through, just because of my many years of experience, I don't want to use the word sacred, but it was pretty important to keep that meeting date as per policy unless there was just an obvious reason that we had to change it. So, I don't know, whatever anybody else's thought is on that.
Yeah, your point is that it's more important to be consistent for the public to count on that. That's or at least to caution us from getting into the habit of doing this too regularly.
Right, and it's been like that for 50 years plus, and I'm sure before that.
Yeah.
That's the practical part of what I'm saying. The other part of it, it's board policy that the regular meeting stands, is the fourth Monday of each month. So we're following policy almost every month, and I think exceptions are understood when it's important enough. And again, this is last second here, and I would vote to okay this, but just ask in the future that we be careful about that particular point. Again, special meetings, no problem. We get free rein on whatever we want to have a meeting.
Good points. Any other comments? Okay, so I don't know if we should do it again, or are you ready to get everything you needed?
I think you're right to the vote, because
Ready
you
to
gotta
vote?
get
Yeah.
second, right?
Yeah. Okay, so roll call when you're ready?
Beckerman,
Yes.
Gillens,
Yes.
Hawk,
Yes.
Happy, yes, Hunter.
Yes.
All right. And that is our final item on new business, so the last one is adjournment here at 9.
President, before you do that, I just want to acknowledge Mr. Matthew or Rick Matthew for learning a new system within like a couple hours and making it
Yes.
really work, so let's, give him a round of applause. All right, sorry,
All
Frank, go
right,
ahead.
all good. We adjourning today at 9:30 PM. So thank you, everyone.
Have a great night, everyone. Be well.